For over 2 centuries, ancient China was a cauldron. 7 kingdoms tore at each other, vying for absolute dominion. Millions perished, not by nature, but by blade and spear, wielded by men driven by brutal ambition, unification. But one kingdom, Qin, innovated warfare like no other. They didn't just fight battles. They weaponized landscapes, turned rivers into instruments of mass destruction, and forged legends from cities reduced to rubble. Welcome back to the History Atlas. Today, we unravel the Qin conquest of Yingju, Chu's ancient capital. This battle rewrote China's map not with swords, but with an act of engineering so audacious, it bordered on sacrilege. Centuries before the birth of empires, the Zhou dynasty fractured, its nominal authority dissolving into competing warlords. From this crucible emerged the 7 warring states: Qin, Chu, Qi, Yan, Han, Wei, and Zhao. Among them, the western state of Qin stood apart. Forged in the defensible Guanzhong plains, protected by strategic passes, Qin embraced legalist reforms, initiated by Shang Yang. Legalism stripped away old feudal power, forging a ruthlessly efficient, centralized military machine. Its armies were disciplined, its will unwavering. To its east lay Chu, an ancient kingdom of vast territory and deep culture. Its capital, Yingju, symbolized millennia of tradition and grandeur. But this sprawling giant was plagued by its own scale, a decentralized administration, rife with aristocratic feuds. Its vast potential remained unwieldy. The collision between Qin's lean, steel-hardened machine and Chu's sprawling, ancient body with clay feet was inevitable. Qin, pursuing its distant alliance, close attack strategy, understood that to unify China, the formidable Chu, its largest and most enduring rival, had to be neutralized. Absolute dominion was at stake, igniting an era of relentless political intrigue and brutal confrontation. At the heart of Qin's ascendancy stood King Zhaozhang, a monarch whose ambition burned like a forge. His decades-long reign was a testament to his singular focus on expansion, backed by a ruthless, pragmatic court. The spearhead of this ambition was General Bai Qi, a military genius whose name alone struck terror into the hearts of Qin's enemies. Often regarded as the architect of annihilation, Bai Qi's campaigns were not merely victories but utter destruction of enemy forces. At the Battle of Yik, he orchestrated the decimation of the combined armies of Han and Wei. Later, his strategic brilliance and calculated brutality at Changping resulted in the massacre of hundreds of thousands of Zhao soldiers, establishing a precedent of total war. Prime Minister Wei Ran, the powerful Marquis Rang, supported this fearsome general. He ensured Bai Qi received unwavering resources and strategic backing, consolidating Qin's power and purpose. Across the Great Han River, in the sprawling domain of Chu, leadership presented a starkly different picture. King Qingxiang of Chu, often depicted as indecisive and susceptible to flattery, presided over a kingdom fractured by its immense size and ancient traditions. Chu's immense power was undermined by a deeply entrenched, often feuding aristocracy, each noble house more concerned with its own influence than the collective defense. The tragic legacy of loyal ministers like Chu Yuan, whose poignant warnings against Qin's treachery had been ignored in earlier reigns, resonated as a bitter testament to Chu's political short-sightedness. This deep-seated infighting and chronic lack of unified action meant Chu, despite its vast resources, often found itself reactive and strategically paralyzed, a giant with feet of clay facing a steel-forged foe. Qin's grand design against Chu was not a sudden lunge, but a meticulous, multi-year campaign of attrition. Long before the decisive push, Qin had systematically carved away Chu's vital territories. Qin forces seized the fertile Hanzhong region, a critical link for Chu's communications, and established commanderies like Nanyang, methodically pushing Chu's western frontier eastward. These were not isolated victories, but deliberate acts of dismemberment, severing Chu's access to vital resources and allies. By 279 BC, General Bai Qi, a general whose name already instilled dread, led a focused campaign into these weakened western borderlands. His armies captured the strategically important towns of Yan and Deng. This advance was a masterstroke of pressure. Each surrendered city, each lost tract of land, further isolated Chu's heartland, eroding its strategic depth. Chu found its capacity to resist dwindling, its once vast plains now vulnerable, its populace facing the relentless encroachment of an enemy that advanced with geological precision. The slow constriction was deliberate, aiming not for a quick victory, but for the utter unraveling of Chu's formidable but fractured power before the final, devastating blow. Bai Qi, the formidable Qin general, now turned his genius to an audacious concept, using nature itself as a weapon. His target was Yingju, and his chosen instrument, the Ju River, a significant tributary of the Han. Under his direction, a massive engineering project commenced. Thousands of Qin laborers, marshaled with ruthless efficiency, began to construct a colossal dam and an intricate canal system near the Chu capital. This was no minor feat. It was a monumental undertaking, demanding immense logistical prowess, a vast workforce, and a profound understanding of hydraulics. The purpose was chillingly simple: divert the Ju River, accumulate its waters into an immense, artificial reservoir, and then, at the opportune moment, unleash this engineered deluge upon the ancient Chu capital. Day by day, the sounds of constant labor echoed across the plains, the rhythmic thud of mallets, the scrape of earth being moved, the distant murmur of rerouted water. Behind the rising earthen walls, the Ju River began to swell, its placid surface hiding a growing menace. The scale of this hydro-engineering was unprecedented. No kingdom had ever dared to weaponize a river with such destructive intent, transforming a life-giving artery into a harbinger of doom. Chu, perhaps witnessing the construction, gravely underestimated its true purpose or the sheer destructive potential building behind those earthen walls. They might have perceived it as a defensive measure or an agricultural project, failing to grasp the audacity of Qin's ambition. What Qin was building was not merely a dam. It was a ticking time bomb, a liquid sword poised to sever the heart of the Chu kingdom. Then, the moment arrived. With a predetermined signal, Bai Qi's engineers initiated the breach. The earthen walls, meticulously constructed and designed for controlled demolition, fractured under the immense pressure. With a deafening roar that echoed across the plains, the accumulated waters of the Ju River surged forward. It was not merely a flood, it was a weaponized tsunami, a liquid hammer descending upon the unsuspecting Chu capital. Yingju, an ancient city built over centuries, offered no defense against this unprecedented assault. Walls designed to repel armies were irrelevant. The deluge swept through the low-lying areas, overwhelming homes, markets, and defensive outposts. Buildings, many constructed of timber and earth, buckled and collapsed under the relentless force. The waters rose with terrifying speed, drowning countless numbers of the populace who had no time to flee or seek higher ground. Cries of terror mingled with the crushing sounds of structural failure and the ceaseless current. The river became a weapon of mass destruction, turning the very ground beneath the city into a treacherous, churning abyss. As chaos consumed Yingju, the disciplined Qin army, positioned strategically, advanced. They moved through the periphery, encountering little organized resistance. The city was already broken, its inhabitants demoralized and scattered, fighting for their lives against the water, not the enemy. King Qingxiang of Chu, witnessing the catastrophic destruction, made a desperate escape eastward to Chen, his court in disarray. The Qin forces entered what remained of Yingju. They completed its capture and systematic destruction. Chu's revered ancestral temples, the spiritual heart of the kingdom, were deliberately razed, a symbolic act that severed Chu from its past and its perceived mandate. The ancient capital, a symbol of Chu's sprawling grandeur, fell not to the sword alone, but to the audacious, calculated engineering of its enemy. It was a fall that scarred Chu beyond any conventional military defeat. The conquest of Yingju stands as a stark lesson in strategic brilliance and catastrophic failure, a grim chess match where Qin's every move was calculated and Chu's reactions consistently lagged. General Bai Qi engineered not merely a victory, but a complete strategic overhaul of warfare, while Chu's ancient might crumbled under the weight of its own inertia. Bai Qi's genius operated on multiple fronts. His earlier campaigns in Chu's western territories, methodically capturing regions like Yan and Deng, served as a crucial strategic diversion. These advances forced Chu to commit its primary forces westward, drawing him away from the capital and leaving Yingju critically vulnerable. This was no sudden thrust, but a slow, deliberate constriction. Then came the audacious stroke, the weaponization of the Ju River. His engineers undertook a hydro-engineering project on an unprecedented scale, building a massive dam to collect and then unleash the river's power. This was no mere siege tactic, it transformed the landscape itself into a weapon of mass destruction. The psychological impact of such an unnatural assault was profound. The overwhelming deluge shattered any remaining will to resist, far beyond conventional arms. The logistical prowess alone, organizing thousands of laborers and constructing such an immense structure so far from Qin's core, underscored Qin's superior organization and command. Chu's failures, conversely, were profound and systemic. Its ingrained political disunity, fueled by internal factions and a weak King Qingxiang, prevented any unified response to Qin's creeping encroachment. A cohesive leadership might have identified and countered the dam construction or defended the capital with greater resolve. Instead, Chu fatally underestimated Qin's ambition and its willingness to employ such devastating, unconventional tactics. Relying on traditional fortifications and defensive strategies, Chu's defensive stagnation rendered them impotent against an enemy weaponizing an entire river. Failing to grasp the existential danger posed by the dam until the floodwaters were upon them was a catastrophic oversight. The successful construction and deployment of the water weapon was the decisive turning point. It rendered all conventional defenses obsolete, nullifying Chu's numerical advantage and their city's formidable walls. Bai Qi played several moves ahead, envisioning a victory earned not solely by the sword, but by turning the very elements against his foe. This audacious vision, executed with brutal efficiency, cemented his legacy and irrevocably shifted the balance of power in the warring states period. For Qin, the fall of Yingju represented an epochal victory. The kingdom immediately assimilated vast, fertile territories of Chu, establishing new administrative centers like Nan Commandery and extending its strategic grip across the central plains. Qin's power had swelled dramatically, its relentless expansion continuing unabated. Conversely, for Chu, the catastrophe was absolute. Its ancestral capital, the heart of its culture and spiritual identity, lay in ruins, ravaged by flood and fire. The human cost was immense. Countless perished, and tens of thousands were displaced, their lives and livelihoods erased. King Qingxiang, stripped of his heritage, fled eastward to establish a temporary capital at Chen, a desperate move signaling profound decline. Chu never truly recovered its former might. The loss of its heartland and a substantial portion of its population crippled its ability to resist Qin's inexorable advance. Bai Qi, the brutal architect of this devastation, saw his fearsome reputation solidified. He had dismembered an ancient rival, cementing his place as one of history's most effective and ruthless generals. This victory, while strategically vital for Qin's unification ambition, left an indelible legacy of ruin, a stark reminder of the savage price of dominion in the age of warring states. The fall of Yingju in 278 BC was more than just another conquest, it marked the beginning of the end for independent kingdoms in ancient China. It showcased Qin's unyielding innovation, its brutal ruthlessness, and its comprehensive philosophy of total war. General Bai Qi, already a legendary figure, cemented his place as one of history's most formidable strategists, even as his methods cast a long shadow of controversy. This decisive victory shifted the balance of power irrevocably, clearing a crucial path for the eventual unification of China under Qin Shi Huang decades later. The deliberate weaponization of a river, transforming a natural force into an instrument of mass destruction, remains a chilling testament to human ingenuity and its capacity for devastation. Yingju's deluge reminds us of the immense cost of absolute ambition. What price, then, truly marks a victory? What other ancient battles showcased such incredible, terrifying ingenuity? Let us know in the comments below. If you want to delve deeper into the sagas of forgotten empires and relive these heroic pages of history, smash that like button and subscribe to the History Atlas for more untold tales from the annals of time.
Did you enjoy the journey through history? Join us again. Like, share, and subscribe to the History Atlas.